Get your nose full of that. Yes, sir, everything you love about fresh ocean air, but with 30% more rotting algae. I can't believe we're finally here. The sea of self-doubt. Hey, you look great, by the way.
Thanks. I mean, you did pack my bags for me, but why are we here?
Why don't we come more often, you mean? They've got everything. Dispiriting wind, antisocial birds, consistently slightly uncomfortable temperatures, and most famous of all, it's impossible to float in the water.
Impossible?
Yep, you go right down to the bottom if you even touch it. It's like anti-buoyant or whatever. I hear that's what self-doubt feels like. It just kind of swallows you whole. Not that I would know about that. We really should have come sooner, but you had to meet sponsor deadlines last month. What, is Kaputko not good enough?
Well, it's not that. It's just, I don't know. I thought it might be a good learning experience.
You don't sound too convinced. Probably just to see if self-doubt doing its thing. Hey, I bet you want to do one of your writing talks or something. I'm going to go check the place out. Try not to mess up too much without me.
Okay, well, I don't know if this is even going to be interesting or not, but since we're here anyway, I thought we could talk about the self-doubt that sometimes seems like an unavoidable part of writing. It's probably a bad idea for a video, but here we go. I mean, when I was in my second year of college, I was taking a creative writing class, and I went one day to my professor's office, and I asked a question that I now recognize was wildly unfair. I said, "Am I any good?" Imagine asking a person who has only seen a handful of your pieces to make such a comprehensive assessment of your writerly identity. Now that I've spent time in the teacher position, I can understand why her response seemed so dodgy. She didn't say no. She didn't say yes either, though. I wanted to know whether I was wasting my time thinking I could do this writing thing, or if I should listen to society and go into medicine. She told me that I seemed to have talent and that if I wanted to keep writing, I should. So I did keep writing, but I didn't know for sure if I was good, good enough to make a life out of it, and I still don't. But then, a few semesters later, I took a poetry class, and at the end of the semester, I picked up my folder stuffed with poems from outside another professor's office. He had written that my final portfolio had some of the better poems in the class, and the best sentences. And for years since, I've wondered what was wrong with my poems, and why don't good sentences equate to good poems? And we'll never know. But then I went to poetry school, spent years doing nothing but writing and thinking about poetry. Of course, I got in off the wait list, so only because someone the school really wanted got a better offer and made room for me. And that's self-doubt. It's like a bad penny that you can never get rid of.
Oh man, I'm telling you, when you're done doing whatever you're doing, you gotta take a walk up the beach. There's a guy selling cotton candy. Well, it's like cotton candy, but it's made with molten salt instead of sugar, and it's powdered with malic acid. He doesn't call it candy floss, he calls it anti-floss because it's so good at making your teeth worse. Anyway, I'm off.
But anyway, I finished poetry school. At the end, I was meeting with my advisor and preparing to go into a PhD program to study rhetoric instead of poetry, and my advisor urged me to keep writing poetry. "You have a real talent," she said, more resolutely than my earlier teacher did, and then she told me not to let the academic rigors of a PhD snuff that out. But maybe I did, though, because I definitely wrote fewer poems during those 5 years than I did during the previous 2. Sometimes I wonder if I broke my creativity by overloading my system with endless academic inanity. I'm sure writing a dissertation during a pandemic didn't help either. And I don't mean to make a sob story out of myself, just to point out that if I'm well acquainted with anything, it's writerly self-doubt. And it's not just me. Mary Ruefle writes, "I suppose as a poet, among my fears can be counted the deep-seated uneasiness surrounding the possibility that one day it will be revealed that I consecrated my life to an imbecility. Part of what I think I mean by imbecility is something intrinsically unnecessary and superfluous, and thereby unintentionally cruel." And Philip Lopate recognizes this pattern of self-doubt too. The fledgling personal writer may be torn between two contrasting extremes. A, I'm so weird that I could never tell on the page what is really secretly going on in my mind. B, I'm so boring nothing ever happens to me out of the ordinary, so who would want to read about me? Both extremes are rooted in shame, and both reflect a lack of worldliness. And I bet if you wanted to, you could fill this comment section with stories of self-doubt too. Recently, on the Writing with Andrew Discord, I've been seeing people talk about being unsure or embarrassed to share their writing with others, posting things and taking them down, or introducing themselves and announcing that they might not be brave enough to share, but they're happy to be around anyway. So say it with me. Self-doubt.
Huh? You called? Hey, did you know that there's a unique subspecies of sea urchin here? It's kind of like a cross between a sea urchin and a leech, actually. It's got tiny little spines that extract its prey's blood. Not enough to do any real harm, just enough to slow you down. This place keeps getting better. I'm gonna try to smuggle a few out when we leave, and ooh, what's that? Later.
I guess what I'm saying, if I'm saying anything at all, is that if you feel self-doubt, so do I. So do a large percentage of students that I've taught over the years. So do several of the clients that I've worked with just in the last year, and so do many established career writers. But I don't know if this is just a bad video or if the ocean spray of self-doubt is getting to my head, so how about I share several hundred more examples of my own self-doubt, starting with an exhaustive and exhausting reading of 6 years of YouTube comments. No, not the thousands of positive, encouraging, and day-making ones, just the dozens of snotty ones that sometimes pop up right when I'm falling asleep for the night.
Wow, this is amazing. So you're telling me that you come out here every day to collect messages in bottles?
Yes.
Well, do you have some now that I could read?
Yes.
Ooh, goody. I gotta get in on that. Let's see. Here's one that says, "Help, I've been stranded on this island made of discarded bologna packages for no longer than 12 weeks, I think. If you want to rescue me, that would be fine, I guess. Or not, whatever works, lol. Ooh, good stuff. Oh, and here's another. The sun may go out, the stars could fall from the sky, the very earth could shatter, and still I would have tolerable feelings of moderate respect for you." It's like, who needs despair when you have lingering self-doubt? Mortals are so fun again. Wait, did you hear that?
Yes.
And you've heard it before?
Yes.
Laughter from offshore? I thought that wasn't possible.
Yes.
Yes, it's impossible, or yes, it's laughter from offshore.
Yes.
Oh, you're worthless. I guess I'll have to go investigate myself.
But that's enough wallowing in self-pity, I guess. I think that what I want to say is that self-doubt probably isn't a sign that you have dubious skill. It's probably just a sign that you're a self-aware human in a culture fixated on optimization, high achievement, and monetary productivity. If you're not making millions of dollars, are you even a good writer? Because it seems to me like a good writer would be making millions of dollars by now, you know? But self-doubt is rhetorical, and you can decide how persuaded you want to be of your own stinking worthlessness. The writer Anne Lamott has said this about pushing back on self-doubt. You get your confidence and intuition back by trusting yourself, by being militantly on your own side. You need to trust yourself, especially on a first draft, where amid the anxiety and self-doubt, there should be a real sense of your imagination and your memories, walking and wool gathering, tromping the hills, romping all over the place. Trust them. Don't look at your feet to see if you are doing it right. Just dance. You get your intuition back when you make space for it, when you stop the chattering of the rational mind. The rational mind doesn't nourish you. You assume that it gives you the truth because the rational mind is the golden calf that this culture worships, but this is not true. Rationality squeezes out much that is rich and juicy and fascinating. The other day, I had one of the more fulfilling writing experiences that I've had in a while. Instead of worrying about the brilliant essays I wasn't writing, or getting after myself for writing a YouTube script, which for some incomprehensible reason does not count in my brain as writing, instead of writing poetry, which does count, I sat down on the couch, pulled out a notebook and one of my favorite pens, and by lamplight I wrote the sentence, "I think I'm over the idea of good writing." Then I filled the page with some rough and tumble thoughts about how maybe I'd rather that people say that my work is nice than that it's good. And who knows what that really means, but it felt like I was maybe shedding some kind of pressure that was and still is fueling self-doubt. What if it didn't matter if my writing was good anymore? And let's be real honest. What on this little blue marble does good writing even mean? Everyone's going to give you a different answer, so why chase a standard that doesn't actually exist? I mean, how much of your self-doubt is driven by someone else's phantom expectations? Why did I ask my professor early on if I was good at writing? Well, because I didn't have a clue about anything other than that there were people out there who were going to judge my writing, and I was pretty sure I couldn't measure up. That wasn't about good writing, that was about impressing gatekeepers. So I like Lamott's suggestion to be on your own side, to dance without looking at your feet. Write what you enjoy writing and experiment, explore, and examine as you go. Or, you could also make yourself miserable chasing an undefinable standard, tweaking and retweaking your work, not because you like tinkering, but because you're afraid that some imaginary critic will write a review that confirms your suspicion that you should never have been a writer in the first place. That sounds fun too. And even now, my self-doubt is asking, but what about audience? What about those things you've said in other videos about qualities of good writing? Why did you start lying, and how long has it been going on, and have you always been a great big dumpster fire fraud? Well, different solutions for different problems. Of course, there are things that can help you to communicate more effectively and elegantly, but self-doubt isn't cured by acquiring skills and knowledge. I've more or less maxed out on formal writing education, and I'm still reading every dip in YouTube analytics, despite the overall positive trend, as a sign that I'm as bad at all of this as I fear I might be. That's why Lamott doesn't say you should learn more. Instead, you should let go of the grumpy rationalist in your head and just trust yourself and your creative intuition. Maybe give yourself written permission, like I did the other day, not to write good things, but to write nice things. Further down the page, I wrote that I was maybe more interested in steadying people with my writing than in impressing me. To me, that feels more important. But I also get that just trusting yourself and letting go of all that imaginary external pressure is easier said than done. So allow me to prescribe a little more wisdom from the poet Mary Ruefle. I am forever telling my students I know nothing about poetry, and they never believe me. I do not know what my poems are about, except on rare occasions, and I never know what they mean. I have met and spoken to many poets who feel the same way, and one among them once put it this way: the difference between myself and a student is that I am better at not knowing what I am doing. I couldn't put it any better than that if I tried. Which leads me to my next long and probably very boring point.
Where is it? Where is it? Where is it?
Hello, friend.
Don't say that. Don't call me that.
What? You aren't happy to see me? I'm hurt. Wounded, even.
How is this possible?
How else? You've rejected my bid for friendship. I'm sure you'd be wounded, too.
No, I mean, how could you possibly be here?
Oh, you mean after you obliterated me last year? Well, I was wondering that myself. For a long time, my constituent particles were evenly distributed across the cosmos, but a little gravitational wave here, a little supernova there, and before you know it, those particles started coalescing.
But even then...
Oh yeah, that's the fun part. You're gonna get a real kick out of this. But first, oh great one, what brings you here? Is this another one of your stunts to show how tough you are? Oh, I'm such an impervious genius. I can visit the Sea of Self-Doubt and leave unscathed.
Well, for one, the sand here is coarser and rougher and more irritating than normal sand. And you can get as many free refills on flat watery soda as you like. Why are you here?
Oh, I'm here because I knew you'd come here eventually. I even had to abduct a little detective before he blew my cover prematurely. I have a theory, that maybe you're not so self-assured as you seem.
What? You think I can experience self-doubt? Have you seen me?
Yes, and I've seen some of the comments about you too. You ought to give that kid some credit. People like a show, but how people say that you're a distraction. They can't even be bothered to learn your name, friend. They just talk about how there's too much skull.
You think I care about that? I transcend the cosmos. Besides, everyone knows you're not supposed to pay attention to the comments.
But everyone still does. Even you. And you're telling me it doesn't eat you up every day that you're trapped in that little golden prison. Of course you think the Grand High Council was wrong to exile you, but what if he was right? What if all your experimentation with dark alchemy was dangerous and wrong?
They were all just jealous.
Were they? They knew about the carnivorous goats. That was quite a scandal, but probably not enough to sentence you to this fate. Nobody ever found out about me, though. Maybe you didn't deserve to be punished for what they knew about. But maybe if they had known it all...
You're insane.
Well, you would know, wouldn't you? Just what kind of alchemical scurrilousness were you up to create something that could survive even being blasted across the universe?
I didn't create you.
Didn't you, though? Maybe not directly. But where one dark alchemist seeks to enforce order on the universe, what can the universe do but laugh? Buddy, I'm the rollicking guffaw.
But that still doesn't explain how you're here.
All right, I was about to tell you. By the way, are you feeling tired? You certainly aren't floating as high as you were before. Is it maybe the self-doubt kicking in? Well then, let me give you a final nudge. There I was, scattered across time and space, my left eye coalescing somewhere on the outskirts of Andromeda, and my nose taking shape once again among the rings of Neptune when, out of nowhere, an incredible surge of chronological radiation wiped through the universe. Now, I'm not very good with the quantum stuff, but the next thing I knew, I was fully reassembled right here. It's like I'd won the do-over lottery. Now, you wouldn't know anything about that, would you?
That's not true. That's impossible.
And yet, here I am. I was looking pretty patchy there for a while, re-gelatinizing in some gutter outside a Kaputko building. But that little burst of juice was all I needed to get back to feeling my old self. The current swept me out to sea, and here we are. I can see you aren't feeling too well, so you'll have to tell me all about the bottom of the Sea of Self-Doubt when I get back. Your little buddy will probably be wondering where you are by now, and I'd hate to keep him waiting.
Toodles.
And I'm sorry, I don't normally like to read pages and pages of textbooks just like in a row like that, but I just wanted to make sure I got it right, with all the self-doubt in the air. But I guess the takeaway is this. Self-doubt is normal, but unlike so much of what we talk about on this show, it's not really a skill issue. It's more about your relationship with your work and with the uncertainty that is an unavoidable part of creativity. There's always more you could learn, more books to read, more theories to absorb, and more lectures to listen to. You'll probably never know it all. But you can decide to relate to that uncertainty in a different way, to get better at not knowing what you're doing. If you're experiencing creative self-doubt, come join the club. Membership is at an all-time high. Just be willing to be militantly on your own side, to have a little faith in yourself, not succumbing to your self-doubt, but choosing to dance anyway. If I can share one more story. When I was in PhD school, going to class sometimes seemed like a constructed exercise in self-doubt. After being assigned more reading than a person could possibly do in the allotted time, we all showed up to an hours-long seminar to talk about the reading that we had all partially done. And if you've ever even been near a school, you might be familiar with the weird feeling that takes over students that you aren't there to learn, but that you're there to show how much you already know. So, if trying to scrape together an impressive-sounding comment based on some aggressive skim reading isn't a perfect storm for self-doubt, well then I don't really know what is. Anyway, there was another student in my class who I admired. It seemed like she always had really smart and insightful things to say, and I always wondered how she did it. Like if anyone in our group was going to become a real scholar and competent professional, it would be her. But after class one day, she basically said to me the same things I was thinking about her. She thought I was saying smart, insightful things and wondered how I did it. And I was like, wait a second, I'm the one desperately making up nonsense, you're the one who has it all together. And we can read that story in multiple ways, of course. Maybe you see it as a not so unjustified indictment of graduate education in the US, and that's fair. But for me, it was a lesson in self-doubt. I was so worried that I wasn't measuring up, and so convinced that someone else was doing so much better, and it turns out that that person was just as full of self-doubt and convinced that I was doing so much better. None of what I was doubting myself for in class even registered for my classmate, and I would never have guessed she felt the same creeping doubt if she hadn't told me. So maybe you shouldn't take your self-doubt too seriously, because honestly, there's probably nothing for us to gain if you silence yourself before you even have a chance to speak up. Maybe you doubt yourself because you think you don't have enough skills or schooling. Maybe you doubt your ability to make a meaningful difference in a world that you feel is so willfully and unfixably awful. Maybe you worry that even if you do write something, no one will read it, so what's the point? Maybe your doubt comes from the seemingly reasonable but also totally inaccurate idea that other people might have something to contribute, but you just don't have anything worth saying. And to be blunt, who cares? I don't care if you're writing the next great novel that will be studied for generations to come, a series of political essays that are later regarded as an inflection point in history, or a quote-unquote cringe fanfic that only 3 people read. Self-doubt can also try to tell you that only certain kinds of writing count. But if your fanfiction makes living on the darkest timeline a little more enjoyable for a small handful of people, that's still a real benefit to the world. So if there's any part of you that wants to write, then do it. Write. Just write. Acknowledge the voices in your head that tell you it's not worth it, or that you're not good enough, or that you really should be writing something more important, and then do it anyway. Your self-doubt is so afraid of a worst-case scenario that it can't even contemplate how much someone, maybe even a lot of someone's, will probably appreciate whatever you have to contribute. Having self-doubt isn't the problem, but listening to it is. When self-doubt wins, all of us lose.
Could not have said it better myself, bud. Sorry I had to miss most of that, but are you ready to go?
Yeah, I'm ready when you are. Did you see anything worth sharing?
Oh yeah, probably a stupid little scum-sucking sackfish or something like that. You know, the usual gross, weird garbage I pretend to be interested in so people will think I'm all tough and aloof.
Well, that's good, but yeah, I think I've had enough of the sea of self-doubt for a lifetime.
Me too, bud. Me too.